So, good day guys. So I am Mert Rotter in Alcoy and I will explain how a game works. And it's called the Dice Cave Game Adventure. And after this, it will be followed up by my other mates, which is gonna explain also the game. So at first, I put a function called a clear. This function is called to clear the terminal screen is used clear. This helps keep the game clean while the player is playing. So next, we have the main function called dice dash cave dash game, which is takes one parallel called difficulty. This is where the main game setup start. Inside this function, I initialize the player stats. The player stats with 5 life points and an attack of power of 1. Then I added two variable which is K1 and K2. This represents keys that the players can collect later in the game. At the start, both of them are set to false because the player has even collected any keys yet. After that, I use an if, LF, and else statement to adjust the enemy stat based on the selected difficulty. If the difficulty is set to easy, the enemy has only have 3 life points and no bonus attack. If the difficulty is hard, then the enemy becomes stronger with 7 life points and an extra bonus attack of 1. And if the difficulty is something else, like medium, the enemy gets 5 life points with no bonus attack. So basically, this part of the code controls how strong the enemy is, and the setup the player starts stat before the game actually begins. In the next part, I'll be adding combat, mechanics, and dice rolling to make the game more interactive.
Alright guys, this is a cave 1, the starting area of the game. This cave is designed to help the player build strength and prepare from the harder stage ahead. When the player enters cave 1, the screen displays their current life and attack power. The main option here is to roll the dice. Once the key is spun, the player will also unlock the option to move on cave 2. Every time the player rolls the dice, the program generates a random number from 1 to 6. If the player rolls a 1, define the key which allows then exit cave and 1 continue of the next cave. If the roll is anything other than 1, the player receives a buff instead their life and attack power both increase, making them stronger for future challenge. This encourages player to keep rolling gain advantage before moving on. Once the key is obtained, the player choose to leave cave 1 and enter cave 2. The loop then breaks and the game progresses. Overall, cave 1 focuses on rewarding the player, helping the group stronger and setting up the cure mechanics and the dice-based system.
Alright guys, this is a cave 2, where the game becomes more risky and strategic. As soon as we enter this cave, the screen clears and show the player's current life and attack power. The main option here is to roll the dice, but once you find the key, you also unlock the option to move on to cave 3. Okay? When the player chooses to roll the dice, the program will generate a random number from 1 to 6. If the player rolls a 1, they immediately find the key, which allows them to enter the final cave. However, most rolls come with consequences. If the roll is 4 or below, the player may receive a debuff. This debuff can either reduce the player's life by 1 or lower their attack power. Depending on a random condition, sometimes nothing happens at all, which adds suspense to each roll. Once the cave is obtained, the option to go to Cave 3 becomes available. Choosing that option breaks the loop and moves the player forward in the game. Overall, Cave 2 is designed to test luck and resource management, because every dice roll can either help the player progress or make the next battle even harder.
Alright guys, now we are in Cave 3, which is the final cave of the game. This is where the ultimate challenge happens, the Treasure Guardian. Once this part starts, the screen clears and the game waits for the player to press enter to begin the fight. Both player and the enemy have their own life points, and the battle continues as long as both are still alive. And every round, the player and the enemy roll a dice. The player roll is combined with their attack power, while the enemy roll includes a bonus to make the fight more challenging. After the roll are shown, the program compares the result. If the player's total roll is higher, the enemy loses 1 life point. But if the enemy's roll is higher, the player takes damage instead. This loop continues, making the battlefield suspenseful and unpredictable. Once either the player or the enemy runs out of life, the fight ends. If the player survives, they win the battle and successfully claim the treasure. But if the player's life reaches 0, the game displays a lost message showing that the guardian has defeated them. This final cave is designed to be the most intense part of the game, combining randomness, strategy, and excitement before the game finally ends.
So I'm back guys. This part of the code is the main loop of the game. This is what keeps the game running and allows the player to replay multiple times. At the start, the difficulty is set to normal by default, and then the program enters an infinite loop, which means the game will be continue running until the players decide to exit. Inside this loop, the main game function is called. This function runs the entire Dice Cave game based on the selected difficulty. Once the game ends, the screen clears and the player is asked to choose the difficulty for the next round. The player can be choose between easy, normal, or hard, which change how the challenging the next game will be. If the player select a difficulty, the value is updated and the game starts with the new settings. If the player chose to exit instead, the loop breaks and the screen clears, and a message thanking the player for playing is displayed. This game loop makes the game more user-friendly and allow players to replay the game with the different difficulty levels without restarting the program. And that's all. So after this, my friend are gonna play this game and you can watch it on how she played this game.